Welcome to Daddy vs. Doctor. Here are your hosts, pediatrician Dr. Scott Cohen and comedian Sebastian Maniscalco.
You're so well-spoken. You're so motivational, right? Like everything he says is just, and you're such a good representative for just adults and youth in general. Everything you say, I was like, gosh, I just hope my girls end up being as well-rounded and great as you are.
Appreciate it.
And I know you've now you're like a motivational speaker, right? You give talks around the world. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think it's been quite a cool journey because I was sharing my story out of necessity when I was younger, because everyone I met would say, "Oh, how'd you lose your leg? How'd this happen? How'd this happen?" So I got really comfortable sharing my story, being open about this type of stuff. And then that naturally translated into being able to give speeches, share my story in a little more professional of a setting rather than on the street outside the Starbucks. And yeah, I have a real passion for public speaking, for motivational speaking. And I think it's cool to be able to share experiences that not a lot of people get to hear on a daily basis. And so I think I try to do the same with social media or anything in the entertainment industry, which is how can I normalize disability? That's the overarching goal. Track is great. Winning medals is awesome. And these are all a part of my bigger vision and goals, but that's just a vehicle to normalize disability, be an example of what is possible as an amputee. And so whether it's public speaking, whether it's content creation on social media, whether it's acting or whatever else is going on in the entertainment industry, it's how can I normalize disability? How can I be an example for the next generation, for all people with disabilities? Because for myself growing up, I didn't have someone in the mainstream media that I could look to with the physical disability and aspire to do something like that. So I want to be that person for the next generation. And listen, we talk about the diversity, equity, and inclusion movement. Disability is that last frontier. Disability always seems to lag behind in any form of social justice movements. And so for me, I want to push the needle forward. And a big part of that is the public speaking and sharing my story.
I think it's great because it's also empowering to listen to, even like you said, when you use words, right? When you talk, everybody sort of gets a little clamped up. Am I using the right words? Am I saying the right thing? Am I going to offend him? And I see, when you ask the questions, I love it because you're asking questions that everybody's thinking. I've been around Ezra, so I know some of these things, but you're asking the question, tell me about the leg. Tell me about the prosthetic.
Is it as good as
is it right? Is it as good as the other leg? Which, yes, that's what everybody's thinking.
So this is what I want to get at. And by the way, I feel like this medal deserved to be put back in its
case.
Not
on your table.
Yeah. I feel like we just put it down like it was a glass of water. Put that back where I often run across people, whether it's maybe a meet and greet backstage, maybe they're in a wheelchair, whatever the case may be. And I don't know why they're in a wheelchair. But I don't really have a lot of people that have disabilities that I could ask this question to. And I think a lot of people are curious, maybe out there in our audience. When you run across somebody like yourself, mm-hmm. and if I just first meet you and I go, wow, bro, what happened to your hand? Mm-hmm. Do you go, oh, fuck.
Why did you pick that thing?
Yeah. Or why can't you just talk to me like that ain't there?
Yeah. Or
I'm not in a wheelchair, because often I try and act like the person's not in a wheelchair, right? Sure. So I don't even know how to stand. Sometimes I'm standing up, but then I get on a knee, so we're eye to eye.
Sure.
Is it okay to ask someone, hey, what happened? Or is this something in your world where you're like, I don't know if I can get into this and what happened or whatnot? Sometimes I want to act like everything is normal.
Yeah.
Or okay, not that it's not okay.
Sure.
No,
but
I get it.
Yeah.
But let's address what's in the room, no?
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, I would love to ask somebody, Jesus, that thing's unbelievable. What does it do? I would like to ask that.
Yes.
But I don't know if the person wants to get into it, or is it a case by case basis?
Listen, it's, in my opinion, the overwhelming majority of people with disabilities appreciate when someone asks questions with good intentions. So if you see someone with a disability in public and they're being stared at and pointed at and whispered about, that is way more hurtful than someone coming up and say, oh my gosh, that's such a cool prosthetic. Do you mind me asking, how'd you lose your leg? Approaching this with good intentions and asking questions and being curious, is so much better than pointing or whispering or hiding and not knowing what to say, and then people catch you looking at them and stuff. That's so much worse.
Yeah.
Most people with disabilities, and I can't obviously speak for every single person with a physical disability, but most of the community appreciates someone coming up, asking the questions, at least with good heart, good intentions. And so that's the way we move the needle forward, is by these conversations. And listen, of course, there are times where it makes sense. You don't have to necessarily address it. If I'm talking to the guy at Starbucks and he gives me my order, he's not going to necessarily be like, oh my God, what happened to your leg? That's maybe a little bizarre. But most of the time, asking the questions, being respectful is totally appreciated. And yeah, I have talked to tons of people with physical disabilities, and that's the overwhelming majority what they believe. And I think it's the more respectful option, and it's helpful for the person who doesn't understand and is curious and wants to learn. So I would say ask away. Of course, there are people who ask rude things, and people who say, oh, cripple, blah, 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 how can you, blah, 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 and they can say things that are maybe more negative, but if you're coming at it with good intentions.
It would be with good intentions. Sometimes I'm like, oh, can I ask this? Can I ask that?
And some people don't want to share, and then they go, I'd rather not share. Okay, great.
Yeah.
At least you asked. At least you asked.
I mean, you've been such an amazing advocate, and same with your family. Your family started Angel City Games, right? Can you tell a little bit about Angel City Games?
Yeah, so we essentially had to travel the country to find any adaptive sports opportunities when I was younger. And my dad and family and I came to the realization, we're thinking, why are we traveling to Tornado Alley in tornado season to run, jump, and throw stuff? Why are there not adaptive sports opportunities in LA? And that's when the switch got flipped. And so for us, we started this nonprofit roughly 10 years ago that provides year-round sports equipment, training, competition for people with physical disabilities. And we started in Southern California. We're branching out now, but we have tons of programs. We loan out equipment. We have tons of opportunities for people to get involved in the community because we know the power of sports. We know what it does for you physically, psychologically, what it does for your soul, particularly for people with physical disabilities. And so it's really a medium to bring the community together. And it's been amazing to see the way people who maybe didn't ever think that they would play sports again, have a physical disability, didn't realize that they could be active, didn't realize there's blind soccer, wheelchair basketball, wheelchair racing. And then now they're brought into the community, and totally new hope inspired in them.
It's amazing. And my daughter started getting involved, and I started getting involved, and it's just an amazing organization. We'll put up a link so that I think always looking for volunteers, right?
If anyone wants to come volunteer, come get in touch with the community.
It's a life-changing experience, honestly, just to be a volunteer. It's just really an amazing organization.
I'm looking at this also. I'm looking at you, how well-spoken, young age, athlete, inspirational speaker. The business side of this, right? I mean, regardless of you shedding light on everything, I'm thinking that this is really, I mean, you could be on you could make an unbelievable living and spreading the word of the message you want to spread because you're so popular. You're going to do the Triple Crown. I know it. I would just think that there's, like, are you sponsored? Is there sponsorship in the Paralympics? Like, I noticed you were wearing a Nike short, and the first thing I'm thinking is, is he sponsored by Nike? Is he getting stuff for free?
Yeah.
The leg is there a company that donates the leg, or you're paired with? So explain the business behind this all.
For sure. So you're right that there are tons of sponsorship opportunities for most Olympic athletes. But for the Paralympians, there hasn't been a lot. And a lot of Paralympians have struggled to make a living. And so for me, it's a combination of how can I build the brand as much as possible, shed light on the Paralympic movement, and then monetize off of this stuff, because there's a lot of guys that go compete at the games and then come back and work at Walmart and work 9-to-5 jobs because they're not monetizing properly. So for me, that's a big part of it. A big part of it is how can I monetize, how can I build the brand and all that business stuff. So I have right now, I'm sponsored by the company that makes my blades, Autobach. I'm sponsored by Toyota. I'm sponsored by Sanofi, which is a pharmaceutical company in France, and then I'm sponsored by Salesforce. So my agents and my team is working very hard to get as many sponsors as possible. Not sponsored by Nike or any apparel sponsors, but they sponsor the U.S. team. So every time you compete, you're wearing those logos.
Gotcha.
And so for me, at least, that's the goal, right? Is how can I build a brand? How can I use this platform of the Paralympics and then of the storytelling and try to make a good living off of it? Because that's the goal. That's what I really want to do.
Doesn't hurt that he just walked the runway in Milan, by the way.
You're a fashion icon?
Maybe not icon yet. Maybe not icon yet.
I mean, I want you haven't sent me the modeling pictures yet. So
do we have the catwalk? Is that up online?
There's a photo on my Instagram. You could probably find it.
I want to see it.
It's So I did
doing Milan runway.
I did a runway show for Boss in Milan a couple weeks ago.
How does that happen? Is that something that comes through your agent or just someone from Boss?
They reached out to. I did it in February in Miami for the first time. They reached out to us personally, and then the second time my agents negotiated it. But yeah, it was epic. And this is what's so cool about the fashion industry is it's so forward thinking. That's not even what I was referencing.
Bro, is that you?
That's me on the cover of Glass Man, which is a high fashion magazine that also came out recently.
Bro, this is unbelievable.
That wasn't even what I was referencing.
Find the way. What's the other one?
Find
the Boss runway.
It's a photo. It's so that was really cool. They did it's a little bit further down. Right there on the bottom, and the right one more. Yeah, that's from the Boss runway show. But yeah, so that cover was really cool. Actually, they reached out to us, and I got the cover of a print magazine and for Glass Man, which is a really, really reputable fashion magazine. And I go, guys, what if I took my leg off and I held my leg in one of the photos?
Yeah.
And then we're like, let's go down to the street. So we went down in the middle of New York City. I'm standing there holding my blade. That was my running blade in my hand. And we're stopping the cars for the photo. And I'm standing there without the leg on, holding the blade. And I was thinking, this is going to be so cool when this comes out.
Well, I saw one where you had a shaved head. When did you shave your head?
Well, and when did you see it?
I don't know, like a modeling picture where you're like, no hair.
You
look good.
Did my mom send you those? Maybe she might have. Those are from last year.
They're not even released yet.
Those are good. I don't know if she was allowed to send me those.
No, they are. But yeah, I did have a shaved head in some of the photos a while ago.
It's funny. The first thing I thought when I saw the photo that you were holding the leg, and the first thing that popped into my mind was, does the photographer go, okay, take the leg off and put the leg in your hand, or was that your move?
That was me.
That was your
me.
move.
Because
Wow.
once again, they didn't know what to say. They didn't want to offend me, and I understand that. That's why I said it. I said, guys, what if I took the leg off? And all the creative directors, you can do that. That's good. I was like, yeah, 100%. Let me hop into the middle of the street and hold the leg.
Bro, I'm seeing a lot in your future. I mean, this guy talks like he's 35 years old.
I know. It's like we say, we have these people on, and everything they say, you take home with you, and it doesn't matter that he's 18 years old.
That means a lot coming from you guys.
Always
truly,
felt that way
really
about
does.
Ezra. It's amazing.
You don't have to talk about this, but I gotta bring it up. I gotta think, good-looking guy, 18, athlete. The chicks have to be running rampant. Yeah, I mean, look at this. I mean, it's. Is there a lot of dating that goes on within the world of the Paralympics, the Olympics? Are you meeting other athletes who are? Have you met the high jump champion from the Olympics, the guy who holds the world record? Not the. How do you even say the
able-bodied?
The able-bodied.
Yeah, the Olympics. Just the
Are you meeting a lot of who was your heroes growing up?
Yeah.
And are you meeting these people as you are becoming more successful?
Yeah, I definitely am. I mean, my coach was a hero of mine growing up. I watched him in the games, and I was so motivated by him. And now he's my coach. He was a mentor, a hero of mine. Michael Phelps, a lot of the big Olympians, Michael Johnson, those are all heroes of mine who now, at a certain level, you meet and you have conversations with them. How
does this happen? Cool. Tell me how. Is this Michael Phelps? Do you meet him at the pool? Is it Instagram?
I haven't met him yet. We've exchanged conversations through a couple mutual friends of that nature, but I have yet to actually meet Michael Phelps. But Michael Johnson, I met at a an event called Gold Meets Golden actually this past year, and we had an amazing conversation. And he won the 200 and the 400 when the games are last in LA. And
gold shoes, right?
Gold shoes.
Gold shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's an amazing guy, but he was a hero of mine. I got to meet him. You know,
Wow.
my coach was someone I used to watch on the television and think, oh my God, I want to do something like that. And then now we train together. It's crazy stuff like that.
Amazing.
Full circle. But going back to your question about, that was from the first Boss show. That was from the first one in February.
We're seeing more modeling shots than we are from the Olympics.
This is true.
I don't know. This is a whole different career we got going.
But as you said, as far as the girls go, listen, there are a lot of people in the Olympic and Paralympic space who get intertwined with one another. I have usually kept that quite separate. You know, obviously people say the village is quite crazy. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. But I tend to separate stuff like that. And then right now I have a girlfriend. So I have a girlfriend of 6 months.
See?
Not worth the highs, the lows, the drama, all the stuff that goes on. I have a girlfriend. Things are great, and then all that stuff is I focus on the business side, work hard, and then that stuff's separate.
Where are you training right now?
I'm training right now. I kind of floated around, but I'm training right now at Beverly Hills High School. This year, sometimes I train at my high school. I weightlift there. Sort of floats around, but
You're a senior?
I graduated already.
you
I
did.
graduated last year, and then I'm taking a gap year in between high school and college to train through Paris, commit everything to the business side of things, to the training, like I haven't been able to previously because I've been in high school, and then I'll probably attend college the year after.
You'll be able to train while you're in college for the next Olympics?
My goal is to become the first above-the-knee amputee to ever be recruited to a Division I track school as a part of the able-bodied varsity track team. So right now I'm attempting to beat out an able-bodied kid for a D1 spot on the track team.
That's awesome. Where do you want to go?
Um,
Let's put it out there.
we'll
no,
see.
you don't wanna say it?
Aiming for a good academic sports school. Hoping to stay in California. We'll see, but there's a lot of things close to being finalized. So we'll see.
Oh, good.
We'll see.
All right.
We'll see.
I'm sitting here going, do we even need school? I mean, with the modeling career?
I mean, listen. The plan is to go to college, assuming no major life changes. If something happens and my career takes off, then there's obviously
Nike sees Daddy versus Doctor, and they're like,
but
Bro,
but going to
what
college.
do you mean if it takes off? It's just a matter of like
no,
when it's going to take
100%
off.
it's going to. You knew
Thank
this
you.
when
I don't
he
even
was,
think
when he was a kid.
Listen, I went to college, right? Obviously, you could tell. But I at this point, I think we just go for the modeling and the athlete.
Olympics,
Right? LeBron didn't go to college, did he?
Yeah,
All right.
he didn't. This is
Seems to be
true.
doing well.
Yeah.
It's all right.
As a pediatrician, let me ask you: you've seen the kid since he was born till now, right? Now, was there hints of this growing as he's growing up? Did you see him going, "Oh yeah, this kid's on his way," or do you see him now going, "My God, where did all this come from?" Or
Yeah, I mean,
what's
actually-
looking back?
Looking back, he was always somebody who was on top of things. He always came in. It's interesting you said, like, with your chest out and your chin up high. Like, there was no difference between him and you never looked at him and you never looked at his arm or his leg or his disability, because not only the way he held himself, the way he spoke, but also all the things he was doing in his life were the same, if not more, than everybody else. So there couldn't be an inkling of treating him differently or acting differently. I really feel like he was somebody who had it from the beginning. I think some kids just have it, and I'm not just saying this because I've known you and you're here, but really you and you know I love your family, and your brothers are the same way. Your brothers come in and they're so confident and they're so great. They're just good people, and a lot comes from the parents being great people and their upbringing, but just wonderful people.
Yeah, I think it's a testament to your parents if the whole family is walking around with their chest up and got a lot of confidence. So kudos to your mother and father. Do you work? Is there a job that you have other than, I mean, do you have like a job?
Mm-hmm.
Or is this the job?
This pretty much is the job. I mean, I was in high school previously and balancing training, which is a full-time job, as well as everything else we were doing around the brand was quite difficult. And so then now that I have this gap year, it's full commitment to training, full commitment to the content creation, to the acting, the modeling, the speaking, everything in the entertainment industry. It's full commitment there. And so that's, I would say, what my job is. And things will get definitely crazy as we get closer to the Paralympics. I mean, if I was in college, I would not have a freshman year. I would be traveling all the time. I would have a million things going on. I would miss tons of school, and that's the reason we took the gap year. But this is my job. This is what I do. I don't have anything else. It's a full commitment to this life right now.
Okay.
What's this training schedule look like?
Training schedule right now isn't super crazy because it's a long year we have, and so we took about 2 months off after World Championships, and then now starting to get back into things. I had my first session on the track last night, actually, and it'll consist of it's back-to-back days of track and weight room, and then track, weight room, all intertwined with lots of yoga, recovery, swim workouts, lots of meditation and visualization. It's a holistic approach that we're taking. Lots of time in the sauna, lots of time spent doing recovery stuff, getting the body right, physical therapy. It's really a holistic view. We can't just be track. I'll burn out, I'll injure myself. It's how can, as a whole, I be the most complete athlete I can. And that's the focus for the year.
Do elite athletes go through what like regular people go through, or like, I don't want to do it, I'm just not going to do it today, I'm too tired? You go through that, or you
100%,
you
100%. And you know what helps me get through it, I'll show you, is in Tokyo I placed 5th. So I walked off the track about an inch away from the bronze medal, and I was crushed and devastated to come so close to becoming a Paralympic medalist. And that night I set the screensaver on my phone as the guys that beat me in Tokyo. And so it says never again. You can see it right here. And I'll maybe show the camera right there. It's the photo of the medalists. It says never again. And I use that moment in Tokyo as motivation, so that there are days I don't want to get up, and there's days I don't want to train. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I open up my phone, and the first thing I see are the guys that beat me, those rivals that you were talking about. And it reminds me of the why. It reminds me that I got to get my revenge. I got to get my redemption. And that motivates me on a daily basis to keep it going if there's times I don't feel it.
Okay, you seem to be an extremely self-motivated individual. Do you get a lot of calls from other people with disabilities saying, hey, man, I lost both of my legs, I'm really down in the dumps? You know, what advice could you give me? What generally do you tell people that are in your situation that might not have the confidence you have or the motivation? Is there something that you tell these people to give them hope?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it is quite common for me to, whether it be through social media, maybe not a call per se, but through social media or through some form of communication, reaching out to new amputees. Sometimes we go to the hospitals after someone has had their leg amputated, and it's very isolating when, especially, you acquire a disability. You don't know what life has in store for you. You don't know if you'll ever reach the same level of confidence or activity or mobility or freedom that you had before the disability. And so the number one thing that I say is come out to an Angel City event. Come out to the community. Meet people like yourself. Meet the community that sees you and relates to you. Because really what we do at Angel City Sports goes way beyond the sport. It's about bringing people together and bringing the community together and showing people that you can still be active, you can still get moving, because there are really low points. I know people who have the amputation, they go into a dark depression, they get on the couch, they're not moving, they're not doing anything. And being physically active, coming out, trying sports, seeing what's possible, what your future could hold, meeting other Paralympians, people who have gone through similar experiences, I think is the number one way to get out of those dark moments. I'll tell you a quick story. There was a little boy, his name was Alpha, and him and his brother were riding bikes, and they're at a stop sign, and his brother was in front of him. His brother was behind him. He was in front, and one car stops, another car stops, and an SUV plows him over. His brother's watching him get plowed over by an SUV. He's paralyzed. He's in the hospital. A couple weeks after surgery, we get the call. We have our big event that weekend. And so my dad on the phone with his mother goes, he should come out. He should come out, meet the community. So this kid, fresh out of the hospital, his family, stone cold, very little emotion after experiencing the trauma that they just went through, come out to the Angel City Games. 4-day event. he's really quiet. He's not first day. He's not talking to very many people. And we think, oh my gosh, did we bring him out too soon? Is there too soon? Should we have waited a little bit? So anyways, we take him from sport to sport. He jumps in a racing wheelchair and races for the first time. And he loses to another kid in a wheelchair, this little kid, Willie, who had been at our events previously. And Alpha starts crying. And we're freaking out. Oh my gosh, it was too soon. We're stressed. And his mother comes up to us and goes, that's the first time he's cried since his accident. The first time he's shown emotion since his accident. We cannot thank you enough. And so for the rest of the day, he went to swimming and he swam with a couple Paralympians. He went to wheelchair basketball and learned from the national team members who were back in the community teaching athletes how to play. It's from sport to sport to sport. You could see him open up. You could see his demeanor change. He developed a friend group of all these little guys in wheelchairs that are racing around the whole event. He's popping wheelies in his wheelchair by the end of the event. A great group of friends. His family's eyes are open. His brother is now meeting other kids with disabilities who his brother could hopefully go do things like later on in life. And it completely transformed his life. His confidence skyrocketed, and he comes back to every single event because of that. And it was that moment right there, introducing him to the community, that completely changed his life. And it is moments like that where you can really see the power of community, of seeing people like you, and of sport literally bringing people together and transforming this kid's life. It's so special.
Yeah, I mean, I would figure going into isolation would be the thing that you would, oh, what am I going to do? But like, to your point, as soon as you're around like-minded people, they're all doing the same thing, it's got to be inspirational going, man, I thought my life was over, but now I'm seeing a different side of stuff, and there's hope, you know?
Yeah, to not feel alone. To not
That's
feel
why
alone.
what you're doing is amazing, because having role models out there is the most important thing, and you're the best.
Thank you.
And the flip side, do you get upset when you see able-bodied people? Is that, and again, is that right?
Yes,
Able-bodied,
totally good.
complaining, and you're sitting there going, "What the fuck are you complaining about? I got my toe on my hand." Did you?
No, because there are people with much more severe disabilities than me, and so then it'd be, why am I complaining? Everybody's going through their own stuff. So an able-bodied person complaining about something, it doesn't bother me, because I complain about things all the time. And then I think, oh my gosh, there's people who have no legs. There's people who have no legs, no arms. There's people who have much more severe disabilities than me, and it can provide perspective for me to recognize that maybe my challenges and obstacles that I'm complaining about are quite minuscule relative to some of the more severe disabilities. But I don't ever feel annoyed when able-bodied people complain. Everyone's in their own head all the time.
I would just think if his, like, let's say if his father came on and said, man, I had a rough day at work, and I don't know how you could lose an argument going, you had a rough day. I mean, just
at least you had a rough day on two legs. You know what I mean? This is the thing. I, on my social media and in general, make so many jokes. This is me. I'm constantly bringing lighthearted energy to it. And back in school, when someone would go, oh, my knee's hurting, I'd be like, at least you have a knee. This is the way that I've found humor and joy and a lighthearted energy to all this stuff. So my social media is littered with one-leg jokes, littered with me walking and kicking the leg off, and people, this is what I love to do, to bring this positive energy to it. And so I make jokes all the time.
And we need that, rather than everybody being down everybody's throat because of what you say and what you do. Again, if it's well-intentioned and we're having a conversation, because this is going to open so many people's eyes to everything that's going on.
Speaking of the leg, when do you take the leg off? Like, let's say you're on an airplane.
Yeah.
Do you go to, is it more comfortable to take the leg off on a 4-hour airplane ride, or to keep it on? I've always wondered, like, when it comes off, when it stays on, is it comfortable to have on right now as you sit? Yeah. Or is it comfortable to have it not on?
That's a great question. For me, I'm quite comfortable with the prosthetic, so I very rarely take it off throughout the day. There are people who, when they're in long drives or on planes, they like to take it off. And sometimes I will, occasionally, but most of the time it's similar to your shoes, in the sense that if we're sitting here and my shoes are perfectly comfortable, I don't need to take them off per se. But then every once in a while, if you've been on your feet for a while, it can be nice to take them off. So same way with my leg. Can be nice every once in a while. But yeah, I typically keep it on, but there are lots of amputees that do the contrary and take it off, even for 20-minute car rides.
Do you need a tool to take it off, or can you take it off with your hands?
No, I can take it off with my hands. It's nice to have a bag of tools around me at all times because the prosthetic can break and bolts can become loose. And if I don't have them with me, I'm screwed. And then, but so for trips, I tend to bring my tools, but I can take it on and off quite easily.
Do you travel with an extra leg in the trunk?
I typically travel with my blade, with my running leg. So technically an extra leg, but it's usually just because when I train and when I'm traveling.
Well, just in like here, right? Just in, let's say you were walking down the stairs and it broke. Do you have an extra leg that you could pop on?
I don't. Maybe I should, but I don't. Particularly because I'm kind of close to my house right now too. So if something were to happen, I could hop down the stairs to the car and then drive home and get something else. But I don't travel with an extra leg usually. I just travel with the blade so that whenever I'm going, if I'm on the road, I can still train and still work out.
Gotcha. These
are great questions.
These are fantastic.
Exactly as you said. I'm like, yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't think of that.
Yeah,
no.
Yeah,
because what we dealt with growing up, you know, there's a lot of manipulation with the leg and the stump. He used to get a lot because he was so active, where the prosthetic meets the stump. You know, that area gets worn away. It would get raw. He'd have ulcerations,
infections or blisters.
Yeah. So it was constant meeting with the people who do the orthotics and the orthopedists and dermatologists and because that could take him out of events if they're rubbing. You know,
totally. I mean, it's trapped in an enclosed area all day, sweating and running and pushing the boundaries. That stuff happened a lot throughout my childhood.
I want to talk about the hand.
Yeah.
Can you grab stuff with that hand?
Yeah, fully.
Is there an advantage at all to having the toe on your hand opposed to this thumb? Like,
having the toe opposed to an actual thumb?
Well, could you move this? Like,
yeah, a little bit. I can move it a little bit.
Oh, okay.
I can move it. I can move it enough to clasp like that. Doesn't have the same dexterity that a normal finger does.
Gotcha.
But I can move it like this, and then obviously when I'm holding things or picking things up, I'm having a squeeze, and I can maneuver it and hold it like that.
And what finger is this?
This is I don't know. Probably some sort of. People think maybe it's like a combination of two fingers that got joint together in the womb. I don't know entirely. But yeah. Completely different. But luckily, I'm able to pick things up and hold things, or else the hand functionality on the left side would be very minimal.
And you are a righty.
I was born a lefty, actually.
You were born a
lefty. Yeah, I was. My parents, remember back in the day, I would be eating I would try to eat my snacks and eat the baby food all with my left hand.
And same with your leg.
I don't know so much about the leg, just because at that point I wasn't walking, so it was hard to tell. But at least hands go. I started with my left hand, and over time, obviously, became a righty because there's just more function. But that's funny. Good question. Yeah,
that's good. I like it.
See, we got to ask these questions. We got to talk about this. We got to talk about this.
And there's another thing I'm looking at. So I'm wondering how training and lifting and weightlifting works with you. I'm looking at your shoulders, and they're symmetrical. But I would think, just because this hand is not like that hand, that this side would be weaker than that side. How do you maintain?
Fantastic question. I have a device called an active hand that essentially I strap it on, and then I essentially, whatever weight or whatever I'm doing, I just strap it. It's a little device that you can strap weights onto your hand.
Okay.
So I can put it on any pull-up bar, any dumbbell, any barbell, whatever it is. And that's really tough, though. It's really tough to keep them even. What we do, actually, because historically my right side has been much stronger. And in recent months, we've been working where I now lift every exercise 5 more pounds on the left side, intentionally.
Oh, wow.
To begin to get closer to evening it out. And so if I'm doing bench press with dumbbells and I'm doing 60 on the right side, I'm doing 65 on the left every single time to make sure that this is even and as symmetrical as possible.
And in doing the weights, is there any pain on this side at all, or is it function like
No, functions completely normal. It's a little bit shorter, so my left arm is a little bit shorter than my right arm. Wrist to wrist, not too much of a difference, but obviously your fingers go out way further from wrist than my left side does. So there is a slight length difference, but it's not too bad. And yeah, no pain, functions completely normal. I mean, I played club basketball growing up and would shoot left-handed floaters.
Wow.
And people, how are you shooting? I don't know. I just figure it out.
Whatever he's doing is what we should be doing, because I don't have muscles or symmetry.
Do you do squatting?
Yeah.
How do you work the legs?
The great question as well. So for squatting, interestingly enough, it's quite difficult to squat with the prosthetic on because it's a hinge knee. And the way it works is if I load my left leg, my prosthetic, when the knee is bent, it'll give out because there's no lower leg to support. So it'll just give out. So squatting is very tough. What we've developed is we put a plyo box down. I put my stump directly on the box. It's the perfect height of my hip so that my hips are even. My stump is directly on the box like this. And then I squat that way.
There's no indentation in the box?
There is a little bit, but it's enough that the hips stay relatively the same height. Not enough to where I would be dipping too much. The hips stay pretty even. Put the stump on the box, load the weight on, and then go from there.
And are all these known exercises, or you have adapted for yourself?
No, a lot of them we've adapted. We've had to just figure it out.
That's amazing.
And gotten advice from people who have obviously done it previously. But it's very difficult because I got to work the stump. I have to work the left side.
Another business. You should patent these devices.
Yeah, well,
these are the things you should be doing.
Yeah, luckily the hand strap is commercially available, so anyone can get that. It's usually used for people who maybe don't have hand function or quads who still want to be able to push weight or don't have maybe a full set of fingers to clasp and grasp at the weights.
How do you work the hamstring on the stump?
On the stump, great question. For the stump, at least, the glute and hamstring are quite similar in the sense that if I'm activating the glute, all I have to do is rotate the stump internally or externally a couple degrees to target certain muscles on the hamstring. So just by trial and error, we figured out that in working the glute, if we rotate the stump internally or externally slightly, we can then target more of the outer glute, the inner glute, parts of the hamstring, little things like that.
When you break the prosthetic, do you feel it in your leg? Is there a connection between the leg and the break? Not that you feel it break, but do you feel any pain in the leg?
I don't necessarily feel pain unless it's a really bad break and I fall into something. But oftentimes it's the blades that snap. And I definitely feel it because I'm running full speed and I'll go to take a long jump and I'll boom, slam it down. And then you'll hear what sounds like a gunshot.
Wow.
And then the blade will snap in half and I'll fall into the sand pit. Or times where I've snapped the knees in half, just put so much force into it, it snaps in half and I fall. So I definitely feel it, but not necessarily pain.
Gotcha. Yeah, man, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
So we're gonna get you out there.
Yeah, I want to come. I want to come to one of these events. I'd like to see. You know, also I got kids too, 6 and 4, not as old as Dr. Scott, but you know, for me, I would love for them to see what's going on. You know, introduce them to, you know, look at what's happening here. I think it'd be cool for kids to see.
It's great education.
Yeah.
Where else can you find this type of education regarding physical disabilities than coming to an event and seeing the whole community right in front of you? And most of the people at these events are happy to share and open and willing, like we talked about. So if they have questions, they get them answered. And it's a very beautiful introduction into disability for children.
And to see that perspective. I mean, Aubrey said, because I told you we went to do blind soccer. We did that on a Saturday morning. And then Sunday morning, she had her club soccer game. And it's like, wait, I just spent an hour and a half yesterday morning seeing what it's like to play blind soccer. Now I'm playing regular soccer. Oh my God, this is
Yeah, I mean, it
right.
would be,
This
it
is
would be just like to compare the two. Would be like real soccer is like it's easy after you play blind soccer,
Gives
right?
great perspective.
Yeah, it'd
No,
be like
it's
geez,
huge
walk-
perspective.
Running around for an hour, not being able to see,
Right.
and now I can be able to see. It's got to be a mental.
Well, and it's funny because they were asking her questions. They were saying, like, how do you dribble a ball? And she was showing how she dribbles. And they go, yeah, but you can't do it.
Yeah.
Because when you normally dribble a ball, you're dribbling sort of the ball's in front of you because you can see the ball. But in blind soccer, you can't. So you actually sort of keep it between your feet and you go sort of back and forth. So it's a different
Completely
process.
different.
But it was really interesting to see and to see that perspective. And then they're dribbling as fast, if not faster, than anybody else. It's unbelievable.
That's
Right?
so cool. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, and we'll maybe leave on this. If you're playing blind soccer your whole life, blind, right? Let's say you're blind from birth, right? You play blind soccer your whole life. All of a sudden, you could see at 15. I would have to think you would be the best soccer player,
Potentially.
right?
Potentially.
You'd be doing things that the people that be able to see have never been doing, dribbling between your feet like that.
People say that about me. They say God had to nerf you, man, because if you had two legs, if you grew that second
Yeah,
leg
we'd
back,
be talking to the next
you would be
Michael Johnson.
You would be
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll just be the Michael Johnson of the Paralympics.
That's right.
Well,
I mean, it's amazing.
do you have any other questions? Because I this was very enlightening for me. I'm so glad that you had the opportunity to come here and share your story with us and share it with our fans. I think they're going to be really inspired by this. And I want to put that Angel City.
Angel City Sports.
Angel City Sports.
AngelCitySports.org. If you want to volunteer, if you have a physical disability and you want to come out.
I think that's great.
Great. And for the up and coming Triple Crown winner in the
Yeah.
LA Paralympics, no question about it.
And on top of that, I'm looking at a GQ cover.
You have a new agent. He's gonna sign you.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks,
really appreciate
Thank you
it.
for having me.
The opinions expressed in this program are not intended as professional medical advice, as a diagnosis, as a treatment protocol, or as a substitute for professional medical advice from your physician. Please consider your own medical history and consult with your own physician for your specific healthcare and/or medical needs and about your concerns for yourself and your family.